Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to the Sunday afternoon live stream. Instead of Saturday morning, we got a Sunday afternoon going. Today's going to be a really good stream. We got someone everybody has been waiting for to come on today, and we also have Terence. He's also joining us. We'll just have to give Randy his time and just ignore Terence. But anyway, we got this guy to give away today. Sealed brand new Trident. So it's going to be really cool. So without further ado, let's bring in the boys. We got Randy. Hello, guys.
Hey, hey.
Hey,
So, Randy, everybody here has been waiting to see your smiling face on my stream. I don't know
yeah,
why, but it's exciting.
long awaited. Yeah, I've heard it's been long awaited. And I see you in our comments for Ryan and I's live stream all the time, and then Terrence's live stream continue to join, and finally you pinned me down.
Yeah. Well, episode 50 is a big deal for me. So you are here for episode 50. Which is really exciting. So thank you so much, Randy, for coming on. Yeah, my fans are brutal, man. I love them to death, but man, they every week ask me to get you on here, so this is a big deal. Oh yeah, and we got Terence. I forgot. Terence is also here.
Oh, nice. So nice. Yes.
Uh, for those are for all the jabs that you give me every week when
Oh,
I.
I know. I deserve it. I don't have a problem.
So guys, I'll try to get to your questions, but it's going to be difficult. I got a lot of questions myself. So
I'll try to keep an
just
eye
take
on
a
them
look
too
on
for you.
them. So Randy, we're going to start with a real basic question. Busy. You are a busy guy. Um, do you have a family? Do you have kids? Do you have what do you got going on in your life that you have time to do all these videos for us that are so helpful, seriously, for me included?
Oh man. Well, first of all, like of course, majority of my time, 80% of my life is bulk reef supply. So I'm working when I get home. I wake up in the middle of the night, come up with like an idea, and send it out to the crew. And hey, guys, you need to track this down. We need to do this. So I was just out camping this weekend and working from the campsite also. But I don't know. I I have two dogs and a girlfriend currently. We're looking at buying a house here in the next month. So I don't have a tank at home. And that was a big question that people ask me. Do you have a tank at home? Do you have a tank at home? I said, no, I've had them, but I've got like 50 of them in the office. But I'm not in a former home to set one up. I know the means of tearing it down and moving. I'm just not going to subject myself to that. I've done that from moving from Kansas here to Minnesota when I first joined BRS, and that was painful. So I'm not going to do
Yeah.
it again. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I got 3 tanks. I couldn't imagine one of them. Well, 2 of them are built into the wall, so I couldn't imagine moving my tanks. That would be really a pain in the butt. Um, Definitely.
I got out there- when I got out of the military, I was active duty for like 13 years, and when I got out, I moved up to Minnesota hoping that Bulkreefsupply had a job for me, which they didn't.
Mm.
But I moved anyway, and I called like I had a 125, I had 450-gallon frag tanks, and I had a 40 breeder, the full setup. And they took up most of all of my gear and stuff. Took up most of my 26-foot moving trailer, moving truck, and then the rest was maybe some dressers and some beds and whatnot. Um, but then I left I left all my livestock and poles and stuff with a friend over in Kansas, and then drove like weeks later or months later and picked it all up. But it was a hassle, and I don't want to do it again.
Oh wow. Yeah, moving sucks in general, but I couldn't imagine moving fish tanks like that. I've been in my house for almost 20 years, and I don't plan on ever moving. So I love it here in Arizona, and I love my house and where I live, and my tanks are, one of my tanks is 12 or 13 years old. I don't have plans on changing it. Um, so I guess my biggest question, and I've always wondered, is when you started at Bulk Reef Supply, I don't remember. They didn't have much videos going. Is this something that is your full-time job now? You just do videos for them? Is pretty much your full-time job?
Yeah, so where it stands right now, we are. expanding. And I just I leaked on Reef Dude's stream on Wednesday that we just hired our fourth actor, or actress actually.
Wow.
We just brought her in. So Mason, I started as customer service, and Ryan was doing videos.
Did
you
actually announce who it was, Larry? Randy, did you actually announce who it was by accident?
Yeah, sort of, but I think
okay.
It's obvious.
I don't know for certain. I have no idea for certain, but I have an idea.
Well, the woman that we hired, she owns her own business here, fish store, and she's been doing it for like 20 some years. She knows a lot more about like reef stock or of livestock and the living things more than we would in the gear stuff. So it's going to be a really good marriage type of her information and her knowledge joining our team. But yeah, so that makes it Ryan and me and Thomas and Jen, who's going to be joining in a couple weeks or so. But so with a team like that, we've got 3 or 4 editors if you count Thomas as editor. Plus, we're hiring another editor for Jen's videos, and the 2 that already live with us. So we've got a team of the 2 guys that maintain the tanks and run all of our BRSTV investigates tests. I don't have time to run the testing myself, so we have to get a guy to do that. And between the 4 editors, herding Ryan and making sure that he's where he needs to be, when he needs to be there for video purposes. My job is pretty much just manage all of those people and kind of keep us in line. And I also do all of the titling and descriptions and things and scheduling for our YouTube videos. So it's it's probably a 50 to 60, sometimes 70-hour work weeks of keyword searches and making sure our content, thumbnails is meeting the intent of the videos, and then programming or scheduling who's going to be in the studio and when, and who's filming stuff. And it's my full-time gig now. I don't really do much else but run video department.
So about how many employees do you guys have there?
The long-haired Ryan days, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I still watch those videos sometimes.
Well, but now we've gone full circle because now we're back to the long-haired Ryan days.
Oh.
I don't know if he accidentally or on purpose skipped the barber over the COVID season, but it's full strength.
So about my question was how many employees you guys got going there? I've always been curious. You guys have a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, we've got I think we crested 100 some employees mid last year, and we just seats for a whole bunch more. So we're looking to have anywhere between 100 and 150 employees by the end of the year. And it's a lot of it's warehouse stuff, a lot of it's marketing team stuff, and IT department. And there's a ton of listings at the bottom of our website right now for just new seats. And Dave, Ryan's original editor, Dave, our screening. That's basically our week next week is to screen applicants for the new editor position and really drill it down to who's join the team and tell our story. So that's going to be a good process. But luckily,
you're putting together a new studio too, aren't you?
Yeah, we just our Reefer 900 XXXL just showed up in the studio on Wednesday last week. So Ryan and I are back there now figuring out where this tank goes, what this set looks like. We want 4 different shooting angles, so it looks like 4 minutes. And so you don't see the same wooden slat board behind Ryan and I for half of our videos, or the
I gotta tell you, I run a business. It's just me, one person. You guys got 100 something employees, and you sell fish products. Yet you have a whole basic department dedicated to recording and editing videos for people. I mean, that's just incredible. People can go to you as a full stop. You don't go to your local fish store and they got videos to show you how to do things. It's huge. I think that's just such a great idea you guys came up with. Well, I don't know if you came up with it, but you know what I mean. You guys, Bulk Reef Supply. I'm assuming Ryan came up with. Let's teach everybody all the stuff we're selling and show everybody how to hook it up. And I mean that's just incredible, and I commend you guys.
Yeah, I mean that is the core value of the Bulk Reef Supply is just helpful. We want you when you want to call about your gear and just talk to our customer service guys for an hour and never sell or buy a product, but you're just talking reefing and getting some help. Or Ryan's making knocking out videos, or we're putting out videos, every week or what have you. The point of it all isn't just to get on there and sell you stuff. Like the least thing that I want to do personally in the video, and I feel dirty for it, is when I talk about a specific product, and I think that I come from a sales pitchy thing, like makes my skin crawl. But if I'm set up a Neptune Apex and doing a series on the Neptune Apex and setup and stuff, that's what I'm trying to do, is just help you figure this stuff out. And it's different from me when I first learned how to do the Apex, with just sitting there reading the comprehensive manual without owning one.
Yeah, Terence, that comprehensive manual needs to be redone, sir.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. So yeah, people, we don't need manuals anymore for most people, because there's tasks. And Randy, and I was just going to say that Randy's approach in the last set of videos that he did, well, first of all, I'll back up a half a step. You're talking about doing videos. It's hard for people to really understand what's involved in doing some of that until you've actually done it, right? And it's hard to, when you've done something that's good, right, and you realize what it took to make that thing that some people can take for granted, from coming up with a concept, to working through the concept, to writing the script, to basically practicing and working through the script so that it's actually speakable, not just writable, right? Because what you write, you can't speak. You don't speak like you write. And then taking that and then having to shoot it, and then having to have B-roll, and then having to have, VO at the right spots, and all of the things that go together to get 3 minutes or 8 minutes of video. It is taxing, and it takes a lot of effort to do it and do it right. And Randy's last series that he did with the Apex stuff, the approach I really liked, which was, hey, you have these things on your aquarium. Didn't you know you can make them better and work better and have a better experience, have a safer aquarium, have more success, whatever it may be, by doing this, that, and the other with the Apex, as opposed to you have an Apex. Did you know it can do this? Or did you know if you go to this setting here, it does that? And it's basically flipped the script completely as far as giving people information to, if you have a skimmer and you have an Apex, well, maybe you need to take a look at these things that you can do to make your skimmer better, right? And then what the skimmer does on your aquarium better, because you have an Apex. So that was a really clever way of approaching it.
I mean, I love those videos because they simplify the programming aspect that people are scared of.
Right.
Now, my cuvette video, on the other hand, that's the top video that Terence is talking about. And yes, Terence does have a sippy cup. Everyone's been asking about your sippy cup. It goes along with his fanny pack that he had on the other day.
Yes, I have a sippy cup, okay? Yes.
Yeah.
Terence looks like a young Bill Murray. Oh boy!
Somebody said I look like Bill Murray.
Yeah.
It's a cross between Northern California Sensimilla and Doberman.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking at the comments as much as I can. We got 120 something people in here, so that's Randy, man. That's the most I've ever had on a live stream. So
bring the numbers. Nice.
There you go.
It's all because of you, man.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's right. Terence is on too, guys. I keep forgetting. Oh boy. So you kind of answered a little bit, but I'm assuming you've been doing reefing for a long time. You've been into this for a long time. And what you decided you wanted to work for Bulk Reef Supply, it sounds like it's something you really wanted to do.
So, the origination story is, I've grown up with freshwater tanks throughout the house. Just little, we probably had anywhere from 3 to 4 different tanks in my mom's house growing up, and between the betta fish plant on the kitchen table to the 55-gallon, a bunch of cichlids and costumes and the frogs and the whatnot, and so traveling around the world for the military. Every once in a while when I could, I keep a little goldfish bowl just to have something in there. And I come from a family of fishermen and stuff. My entire family fishes. In Montana, fishing is kind of a big thing on the streams,
Okay.
and rivers and whatnot. All of this aquatic stuff and fishing has been in my life. And when I came from Germany and I got deployed, or I got transferred over to Kansas. And when we moved to Kansas, I thought, I'm going to go get a fish tank. And I thought freshwater. I walked into this Petco, and one of the guys there, they had a saltwater section, and they had a really good saltwater section. And the guy was just kind of like, have you ever wondered about this? And he starts explaining it to me, and giving me these challenges and the way the saltwater set up. And I went over to his house, and he's got 500 to 600 gallons of different saltwater frag systems and stuff in his garage.
Oh, wow.
And so he kind of got me started on my 40 breeder, and then it just took off from there. And
everybody had a 40 breeder.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Within 6 months, I was already up to 125 gallons. So, but when I deployed to Africa for 9 months, I had just set up my 125, and I set up a camera on it so I could kind of every now and then. And then I realized while I was over there, well, man, there's this thing, the Neptune Apex thing, and this thing can tell me, I can turn off and on my Christmas lights. I can feed while I'm away in Africa. This is awesome. So I ordered one and had it shipped home, and I told my girlfriend at the time that just everything I ordered while I'm in Africa, just stuff in the closet. So when she opened that closet home, it was mountains of Apex gear, and I went to work, setting it all up, and I loved being able to control and do whatever I want. But it's kind of shifted gears over the years of why I want an Apex. Like back then it was all the cool stuff that I could make something do in series with something else, and then something else, and this reacts and this reacts. Was just tickled my inner gear, nerd. But now it's my livelihood of my tank depends on me catching this stuff and getting that alert when I'm in Africa, or when I'm at work, or when I'm doing something. And so now it's more of a necessity. And I actually, I told him, I said I wouldn't set up another aquarium without a controller of some sorts. So I went to Montana over the last 3 months and flew back and forth and set up my mom's Waterbox 130. And so now I've got her all decked out with all the Apex gear, and she's messaging me, did you get that alert? Did you get that? What does that mean? So I set up her auto water change station and all kinds of stuff that I can just control from here in Minneapolis. So it's easy sailing for her. But
well, my wife, we put in a alarm in our bedroom that wakes us up if there's a catastrophe on our fish tank from our Apex. And ever since I've done that, she's like, you need to get rid of that. You need to, there's a problem every other day. And I go, there's not a problem every day. I just need to know what's going on when I'm sleeping.
His Apex is the other woman.
Oh boy. Guys, thank you so much for the super chat. Someone had said to you, Randy, thank you for your service.
I got a couple of questions here if you want to get a couple of questions going.
Sure.
So let's see if Randy knows the answer to this one, because he probably knows even better than I do, because it's been so long. Possibly somebody bought a used Apex Classic and they want to reset it so that it's not with the other guy. It's not linked to the other guy anymore. How do they do that?
Oh boy.
Do they?
I don't know. It's been so long, I forgot.
I think
do they have to go into the local and go into the back end of the old local dashboard and reset it? Is there a factory reset in there?
No.
What do they do? What do they do, Derek?
I'm pretty sure you have to SSH into it. I'm almost positive you have to SSH into them. But the problem comes, you got to know the password or the username and password to SSH into it.
If it's not the default Neptune 1234.
Yeah. I think you have to
It's a
SSH
good
in it.
question. I can't believe that is so far like for
Well,
me before.
John Halsey is in our stream.
Hey,
So
look,
he
Suncrest
can
Reef
probably
says
say
for
it.
the used Apex, follow these instructions. So he's going to
There
give
you
a
go.
link or something. So
There you go.
Suncrest Reef is John Halsey, and he writes all of the like user FAQs that are out there. So, and he just said no SSH is required. So,
Yeah, John's
he'll
a
help
man,
you out
man.
there for the user that had that question.
He was
Somebody
on
else
my
asked the
stream
question:
last week.
how far can the Trident be from your aquarium? So let's see if you guys know that one.
I'm going to say 6 feet.
Yeah.
It's basically as far as the tube will let you go that comes with it. And that is it, which I believe is probably 5 feet or something of that nature. But the key factor there is you can't extend it. And no, you can have it at or below the level of the sump or the aquarium too. You just risk it draining out if you were to have a problem, somebody disconnected it and you have some sort of siphon flow. But anyway, go ahead, Derek. Just thought I'd get you a couple questions in there.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, I've been looking at some of them too. So nothing. It's a lot of.
Oh, here's another interesting one.
A lot of
that
love
came
for
up.
you, Randy.
So here's an interesting one that came up because I saw this come out by a competitor, and we had looked at it a while ago. Somebody asked if we at Neptune Systems will ever come out with a rope leak sensor. And if you haven't seen, these are the leak sensor that it uses basically a conductive plastic kind of woven in. You can buy them, through Alibaba. You can buy them. It's a pretty common kind of thing. You could probably DIY one pretty simply, even to the Apex if you wanted to. At this point, we're not doing it. One of the things that's a downside to the rope sensors is that, when you think of rope, you think of like limber rope, right? Like you're just going to lay down some limber rope and it's not that. It's really stiff, and you kind of have to bend it into place, and you have to put, if you see some of the uses of this stuff, obviously pre-aquarium uses, they actually have clips that you put down on the floor to hold it down so that it's contacting the floor in various places. It's not a bad idea, but it's not also as simple for the average user to use either. Or simple or straightforward, but I don't know, maybe we'll have something, maybe not.
Is the size of the LDK, the leak detection sensors, are those intentional in that they cover a smaller surface area, so in case you have dips, or would you make a bigger one, or any other shapes and sizes?
We're always looking at different kind of upgrades or solutions to things that we have all the time, and we've done stuff over the years, different things. The particular design on that, obviously there's one that goes under carpet and there's one that's weighted on purpose because you often will get memory in wires and whatnot for the same reason that the rope sensor cannot touch where it needs to touch can happen if you didn't have it weighted down. You could make a bigger one. We could make a bigger one. A third party could make one, right? It's not something that somebody couldn't do. They could 3D print a 1 foot long one if they wanted to. Sure. It's not as straightforward as some people believe in terms of just 2 open wires and setting 2 open wires down. It's a little bit different than that, and it's certainly not the same as hooking up 2 wires to the breakout box kind of connection either. There's a different, when you have, if you want to sense salt water, it's pretty easy, right? Because salt water has a higher conductance, right? But if you start wanting to detect, 3 ppm, TDS or whatever, water, it's different, right? It's not as straightforward. So, but anyway, that was rope sensor.
That brings up a really good question too, because this is one that I've been waiting for, and I'm wondering if it's on the docket. Maybe you can't say anything, but when are we going an updated breakout box where I don't have to do the bare wire and wrap all the grounds together and then
so it's funny. It's funny that you asked that. I mean, to begin with, kind of the breakout box approach anyway is more of in my opinion, kind of a not advanced user, but certainly it's not the plug and play kind of user to begin with. Back in the day, the breakout box, you can probably see some of these out on the internet, used to have kind of push down connections like you see sometimes on sprinkler controllers or other things like that. And they actually created issues for people that didn't, because if you've ever used one of those, sometimes you can get a wire in there and it's not fully connected. And so that design, actually, I believe that was BT before Terence, when that one was the shipping one.
That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, that breakup. I think it was actually a blue one too at one time instead of a black.
All your stuff was blue.
Well, yeah, it was blue, purple. There's a lot of purple in there when I joined the company. Yeah, no more purple after I joined the company. No. Yeah. But yeah, so there's always stuff that we're improving. But Randy, I mean, the long and short of it is limited resources. Put all your best effort in the most, kind of important areas.
So speaking of important areas, there's a ton of people asking this. I've been looking just in the last 5 minutes, maybe. You don't have to say yes or no, because me and you have spoke about this multiple times. Everybody wants Neptune to make an NO3 and PO4 tester, even though you and me have spoke about it. I agree with everything you've ever said, which is why when you only need to test it once a week, and why when you could just grab a, not the NO3 Hanna checker, but you could get the phosphate Hanna checker, right, and test it within 3 minutes. Why would that be anything Neptune would ever sell? However, my rebuttal, and I was going to actually bring Randy in on this, is now there's all these companies coming out with automated testers that are testing everything, even your competitor, your direct competitor of automation. And I don't want you to say, oh, we're making it, obviously. I just want you to say, what is your opinion on those in the marketplace?
So my first thing to say is there's my opinion and there's what Neptune Systems does, and they're not always exactly the same, right? Because, well, I mean, on a personal level, what I would do in reef keeping, and I mean, would I personally have such a tester? Probably, and I probably align very well with who the viewers of this of this stream are, right? In terms of the kind of reef keeper I am. But in terms of how many of those kind of reef keepers there actually are who will shell out that much money, right, for that kind of operation to see those kind of numbers, and it doesn't give you. I'll also give the what is my usual discussion of this. The reason that the Trident has been such a huge success is multifold. It's not just because it's an automated tester. It's because it's an automated tester that is super easy to run, right? Yes, you have to buy reagents and they come from us, but you plug them in and it works more or less, right? You can calibrate. It's also because it's $600, okay? It's not $1,500 or $1,200 or even $1,000. So that makes it more accessible by people.
It's not a reef bot.
It measures three things that are told to everybody if you're going to keep corals are super critical things to be measuring on a semi-regular basis, and if you can, as frequent as possible on one of those things, right? The more frequently you could do it, if you could do it every 10 minutes, right? If it didn't cost you anything and you could do alkalinity measurement every 10 minutes, you would do it every 10 minutes. You would not think, that it was excessive, right? Because it's interesting data. So, and then on top of that, what you do with that data, there's actually a prescription that is an understood prescription in the reef keeping hobby of how to take that information and then take that information and decide what actions you're going to take on the aquarium with that. And the acceptance of that prescription is near universal, right? You add, bicarbonate, you add calcium. Okay, or you have a calcium reactor, okay, or you have calcium hydroxide, okay, and so you understand the prescription of, we see this measurement, we do this kind of a thing, and my tank is going to be better. So when you look at those things, you can understand why the Trident is so successful, because of all of those kinds of things. Now, when you talk about testing and automated testing in general, there is an importance to know things, right? And then there's how much of a pain is it to test those on your tank, and how often do you think that you need to test those on your tank? And then once you test those other things outside of the big three, what is your strategy? Is there a prescription for what you should do when you get those numbers that's universal and even could be modified to be automatic? Okay.
There.
And okay. So you'll come up and tell us what that is. So the thing is that when you're monitoring the nitrate and phosphate in your tank, which by the way is other than using an automated version of an existing test kit, is difficult to do, right?
Of course.
There's a lot of things that go on to make that work, and commend, right, people who are automating it. The Mastertronic thing that's out there that's automating that process for people, that's great. But once you get those numbers, and you're paying to get those numbers very often, or more often than you would manually, what do you do with those numbers? And you're paying $15 a month to get those numbers. What do you do with those numbers? And is it universal? And is it universal enough that everybody would buy into it and make it a wide, something that everybody would have on their tank? And that's where the connection doesn't really come together yet. So go ahead, Randy.
Well, you go ahead first, Randy.
I agree that probably the demand for something like that is not as universal as your Trident. I 100% agree with you too. But there are those reefers that are as in tune or want to be as in tune to their tanks as like we would. Like you said, if you would use one if the one existed, and the data, the information that you get from it, the prescription, if you understand how your filter socks work, or you understand how your refugium works, and you understand how your skimmer works, and you are able to make those connections in the changes and adjustments that I can make to each one of those filtration methods, I can actively use that GF or that phosphate and nitrate data to tune those things more smartly, rather than me testing once a month.
Oh, absolutely. I have no disagreement with that. I have a disagreement that there's a universal prescription in order to do that, right? And that's where the difference is, right? Because it's obvious. It's an obvious thing that if I've taken down my nutrient level too much, then maybe I need to cut back on the amount of my toilet paper roll thing that I have, or there's these different things, but there's no universal kind of approach to it yet, and certainly nothing that falls into the level of you get with Trident automated dosing, right, where you've got it synced up together and you're getting that. And those things are the reason that it's so popular. And I will say too, although I would have one of these kinds of devices, it would have to be the approach like the Trident has, which is the ease of use factor. I would not have a Mastertronic, not because I don't think it works, it probably works, but the amount of overhead of me babysitting the device for the amount of times that I'm going to need to test, I'd much rather test the infrequent times that I am than worry about, do I have all the right reagents in there? What's the levels? Have they gone bad? Did the needle bend? Do I need to replace the needle? Do I need to calibrate this or that? Once I get through all of that, for me, all of those other tests, automating them, it's not worth it, right? How does Ryan say it? The juice isn't worth the squeeze for me. So
that's Ryan saying.
So,
yeah.
That's a Ryanism, yes.
Yeah, that's
that's where I think it's not there yet. And in order to do it in a way that was a new method, not just using an existing test kit, but a new method that might only use 2 or 3 reagents, is incredibly difficult also. Because some of the methodologies to do that involve caustic reagents too.
So here's my rebuttal. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that testing phosphate and nitrate was not difficult. Let's just say. And let's say it's similar to that of a Trident testing for some weird reason. It just happened in a couple of years from now. Everyone that I speak to is all the time, they're like, oh, I want a PO3 tester. I want an NO3 automated tester because some people aren't home all the time. And they're like, I want something automated because I'm just lazy and won't do anything. Would you think that would be something Neptune would look into at that point? If, I don't know, let's say 5 years?
I think you probably can imagine. I think you can probably imagine we've already looked into it. Right?
Okay, then that's the answer.
There's no reason we wouldn't have already looked into it. But as I said, it is we can try to say, well, pretend that this isn't the case and pretend that this isn't the case. At the same time, I don't believe that that the amount of work that it took just to get the Trident going and to keep it going and to support the customers with that product and everything else, right? Mm-hmm. When it comes down to it, do I think there's going to be a huge amount of people that once they get something like this and they see week after week that they're, oh yeah, look, my nitrates went up a little. Oh, look, my phosphates went up a little. And they're going to look at it and they're going to go, that was interesting. Oh, I need to go buy another $40 worth of reagents for that. I mean, that's literally the difference, right? And of course, I get everybody has the anomalous stories that they have that I watched my nitrates go up and I did this. And I get that. But I'm talking about the masses, okay? Products, our industry is tiny, okay? And now you're going to take another slice of what is a tiny industry and apply what are, a ton of research and development and everything else to it to get what back. And instead, you've got 5 other products that are going to make people's lives better in keeping an aquarium, right? Make them more successful, which is what we try to do. And you can only do so many different things.
No, I totally agree with you. I just see it so much in all the forums and all. I mean,
because you are. It's because you have selection bias, right? That is happening. I mean, you're in so deep, right, that you don't realize that 80% of the Tridents that get sold are people that don't even know reef automation exists. That's probably 95% don't even know that it exists. It's probably, 80% of them don't even know reef to reef exists. Okay. Right. Truth. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And we are in our own, little bubble that is very hard to not believe that we're not there because we're that geeked out.
That's true. So Randy, this brings me to my main question. What's your thoughts? Because you guys don't talk about it, I don't think, on any stream, with the exception of the Trident. What's your opinion on all these auto testers that are coming out? I've never heard you guys ever really talk about them.
I also, in any industry, it's a good idea to have a variety of options from, so I can, if I'm more comfortable with one interface than the other, then I can choose which one makes the most sense to me. Or maybe I'm not in the entire Neptune ecosphere. I can choose something that's not that whole thing, and it just makes sense for me. But as far as like the evolution of automation and the especially automated testing, in a world where we've changed the thought process behind, or we opened, not that we changed the thought process, but we opened our eyes to the real value of what an aquarium controller is to your tank is not in the ability to turn things off and on at a whim's, when on a whim, or show somebody your cool disco ball lighting effect. It's actually the protection. It is the insurance policy for your tank. That is what it boils down to for me. So the more progress that we can make in automation and automated testing, even if it is for something just like phosphates and nitrates that don't ever change, but maybe once every few months, or some catastrophic happens, the value is still there in that I now have another piece of monitoring equipment that I can get another level of what my tank is doing. And eventually down the road, decades later, the entire thing will be so automated, and I'll be in tune to almost every single parameter, including organics and carbons and, these different types of things. The way for me to monitor that stuff. So maybe there's not a prescribed, prescription for solving something with nitrate and phosphate right away. It would be valuable if I'm dosing nitrates and phosphates, because my filtration is so good that I actually need to monitor a dose in, and now it really does. It does become important to monitor phosphates and nitrates. But I think in the end, the future of the automation is just a better grasp on what your tank is doing, rather than sitting at home or sitting at work and wondering, man, I hope my tank is all right, and then getting home to it,
I mean, that's the one main reason I have an Apex. Actually, the only reason I have an Apex is I can go in my kitchen, sit down and eat dinner, and not have to worry that something's going on with my tank. Like, I know my Apex will let me know if there's something wrong with my tank. It'll also wake me up in the middle of the night with a blaring alarm and red light. But it at least will let me know what's going on at all times. That's why all my tanks have an apex on them. And I think that's the biggest.
It's the type of this type of smart technology that opens the doors for a reef tank to be possible to more people. A lot of people have probably been interested in it. Probably work very busy lives, very busy schedules. Got a little wet and realized that it's probably more work than I'm willing to sign up for. And until you give me an option that I can actually keep this thing trustingly, knowing that it's going to survive while I have a busy life, and I can actually have it feed itself and clean itself and do all this other stuff. It just opens the availability of a reef tank to a lot more people.
What I like to tell people, so the interesting thing for so many years, I mean, it's funny that you say the insurance policy thing. When I started with the company and was doing presentations at reef clubs and whatnot, it was funny because that's actually how my presentations went. It's like, this whole section I'm gonna tell you about is the only thing that really matters, and it's your insurance policy section. And then I'd have the Swiss Army knife section, which was after that, right? And it's like, that's for sure. The interesting thing I think one of the things that Randy, that I think Derek was alluding to, and I'm interested in your opinion too, is with the multi-testers. So you have the Reef bot that came out. Did you guys test that at BRS, the Reef bot?
Don't.
You did not. So there's that. It's basically this robotic approach, right? And so now the Alcatronic creator Jonas created the Mastertronic, which looks like an interesting piece of equipment, which is very similar, kind of robotic testing is the best way that I can describe it for certain parameters. I mean, and then there are ion tester type equipment that has been tried to come out for, I don't know, 4 years now or something, that hasn't materialized yet. But I mean, first with the automated testing, like the Reef bot / Mastertronic, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, it's like, I'm not trying to diss it. I'm seriously because $1,200 even for me, I'm like
15.
Is it 1,500?
Okay. Is $1,500. Yeah.
So I don't even, even though I have a very advanced aquarium and I spend a lot of money on reef gear and whatnot, I don't know if that, because of me having to change things out and actually maintain the equipment as well, right? It's not just boom, it's going. I don't know if it'd be for me, even if it worked. What's your thoughts on that kind of equipment? Do you see it having a wide appeal?
So first and foremost, let me say that I've never had my hands on a Mastertronic or an Alptronic or a Reef bot. So our guys like Jason, who brings products into the website, he's charged with testing these things out, seeing if it fits our value matrix and whether or not it goes on the site and stuff like that. So I can't speak smartly about those in particular because I have never had my hands on one. But I can also, in the same breath, say that I've spent I know I've spent more in cost on some things for my tank, and even with consumables that require changing things out, than that one piece of gear. And obviously, somebody's finding a value in it, making it and selling them. But there's probably a value in there that I just haven't had my hands on and can see. But the reagent-based testing, with like Trident reagents and stuff, that appeals to me because I know I get a feeling that I already my other test kits, they come with reagents. I know how to use them. I know that they're standards. I know that you can test calibrate to them. Does the Mastertronic and Altronic work on like a reagent-based thing, or is it like a probe-based thing, or is it the Reef bot that's
no? It's a reagent. It's reagent, but at least for now, it uses off the shelf. So you grab your Red Sea reagents, or you grab your Salifert reagents, and you basically take the refills and stick them in the bottles, and and then it spins around and puts a needle in, and it's automating what is normally a manual test for you. And I'm sure it works, and I'm sure it works, when it's working, I'm sure it works great. But I'm not saying about the Reef bot, Derek. I said the Mastertronic. I have a lot more trust in Jonas, in his products, right, than I do in the other guys' products.
Oh, I was anytime Reef bot is mentioned, I boo. That's just what I do.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I mean, it is. There's something very appealing to you mean I can use a test kit and use my reagents for a test kit that I've used for the last 10 years, and now I have something that I can put it in that just makes it automated, so I don't have to do the shaking and the timing and then the cuvette 1, cuvette 2 thing. That's really attractive. More so attractive that I know that my reagents for my hand salinity checker, once I make the initial purchase of $55 for the checker, and it comes with a reagent, my cost per test, my reagent cost is like $12 for a refill. Well, I mean, when you see that compared to maybe like the Trident, where you can get a 6-month pack for the price, but I know the cost of my reagents, and I'm just
there's one thing, Randy, since you're not as familiar with the two products. When it says 50 tests to 100 tests on a box, the ReefBot does 10. So it wastes ton and ton of reagent. So when it comes to cost, I can tell you right now with my 2 ReefBots, I'm spending more money on reagents than I could imagine. And I'm just doing a test once a week with nitrate.
But to be fair, we don't know that about the Mastertronic product, and
I don't have it yet.
For me, I don't, as a more advanced reef keeper, I don't test that much. Okay, I don't. The Trident testing gets done. I look at my tank. I know when my tank has got issues with nutrients to some degree. I'll start when I have too much detritus, I'll start getting cyano like I have right now. I kind of know those things, and I don't do that many of the other tests. I don't know that would make my reef keeping experience for me that much more.
Yeah, so let me interrupt everything with this discussion and saying that my channel, of course, is about automation, and the people that watch, and including me, are super nerds. So You're absolutely correct, Terence. For most people, $1,500 for a product is absolutely insane to not have to test. I totally agree with you. But then you got the niche that watches my channel, and then you got the niche like me, who's an uber geek, that loves this stuff. So you got, it's hard to say if it's worth it or not, because I definitely think it's not worth it to have automated testing when it comes down to it. Like you said, you're in tune with your tank. The nitrates, they're going to change in a few days? Probably not. It might take a couple weeks if you're in tune with your tank.
For most people, unless you have a catastrophic.
But it's fun to have it. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. But it's fun to have
absolutely. I can totally see that.
Cool tech. Having, I have all kinds of crazy automation stuff in my house that, trust me, no one else would need or want or care to have. But
absolutely,
I'm an uber geek, so I love this stuff.
But, that starts to speak to instead of being a dog or a cat or some other pet that you own, where you're not getting a dog or a cat or these pets as a hobby and something that you can explore and waste money on because it's a hobby. Here in this, we're kind of back to those equations where yes, our fish are pets, yes, our corals are pets. So there is a bottom line of what I'm willing in cost and gear to keep my pets alive, but at the same time, it's as hobby as RC cars or something like that. Where you have an RC plane that does this, but this new model just came out. And what do you think about the motors on it? I'm gonna go buy this. Like the kind of the both worlds that we need to hit in this hobby specifically, because we have so much gear and tech and stuff that just hasn't been applied.
So
I think the automated testing, Derek, just one last thing on it. I think really what it is for me, I just thought it's kind of like inkjet printing, right? It's like really cool and novel, right? And then you're like, oh, this is great, but now I got to change out the cartridge, like how often, and then it dries out and whatnot. So to that end, I will send out this to Jonas. I will say, Jonas, if you make one where it's like the large format inkjet printers, and I get these big reservoirs of reagents, and it really is set it and forget it, and it's $2,000, I'll buy it. It's it right here. I'll buy it. If I don't have to touch the thing for like a month or two because I'm that lazy, absolutely, I could see the value in probably getting that information coming up if I don't have to mess with all the other parts of it. So there you go.
Terrific. Well, it's impossible for me to even get a Mastertronic right now, so I can't even tell you. And I'm just getting it for the channel. I'm not getting it because I want it. I mean, I use the Reef bot, don't get me wrong, but you know my opinion on it. And it has not saved my tank. It has not made me a better reefer. It's caused me more headaches and more frustration than anything I've ever bought for my fish tank. Let's just put it that way. So, Randy, since we're talking on an automation channel, what is the coolest automation you guys got going on at Bulkreefsupply or that you've done before? Like, is there anything that we don't know that you're doing? Anything cool? Put the limits to the apex?
I don't. We mapped out the whole year's worth of investigates testing for the most part, and things that we're going to test and stuff like that. So we are really going to put the Tridents to test this year in monitoring we're testing like precipitation levels and when does calcium and alkalinity at what pH do the different levels of calcium and alkalinity start to precipitate, and we'll probably be running a like Trident on several of those tanks just to keep monitor the system. We're going to monitor. We're going to use pH. The biggest part of like the testing that we're going to do and using Tridents comes down to the pH conversation, and that conversation of that difference between 7.8 and 8.3, and if we can actually draw a parallel rather than just seeing measuring. We're going to be measuring mass of corals. We're going to be visually comparison, but the real comparison is going to come when we see the difference at consumption levels at 7.8 versus consumption levels at 8.3, and then we'll probably sacrifice a couple corals to inspect the interior, the calcium carbonate skeleton to see is it more dense when you have a higher pH and you're running at 8.3? Is it less dense and middle at like 7.8? And given the conversation around pH and is it hyper fueling coral growth is one of the conversations that we're going to be using a lot of testing stuff in. We're also going to mirror that with you can grow coral skeletons super fast with pH and higher alkalinity and calcium. But what about tissue growth? Well, that requires like proteins, and that requires amino acids and feeding the actual live animal of the coral who's building the skeleton, and you need to fuel their growth at the same pace that you're fueling skeletal production. So now we're talking about lighting and feeding and the DLI of different lights, and it does shorter high intense periods grow the same as longer low intense periods, and a whole bunch of different stuff like that. But right now we have the initial test that we're working on is more lighting tests. So we will do kind of the same format that we did lighting before, but we are also adding in some different approaches to shadow testing and stuff. So I'm excited to see how the sky performs compared to everything I did last year.
Me too. I'm excited to see that. I think everyone on the stream is excited to see something, Terence.
Remember, it's like Fight Club. Remember the first and second rule of Fight Club, guys. Okay.
I'm sorry, but I love that every stream that Terence is ever on, everyone wants you to tell us what's coming out. Like tell me what's coming out. Tell me what. No company does that. Well,
we used to be more liberal. We used to be much more liberal in that sense. And I mean, not completely, but we used to give a lot more heads up on stuff than we do now. And then the Trident debacle happened, right, where we were delayed, right? And by the way, we were delayed a lot less than some other things I've seen not coming to market lately. That don't seem to get ripped as hard as we got ripped. But since that time, we've basically took a completely new approach internally. So
Randy, that's kind of my next question. Is there anything from from Neptune that you would like to see them make, or any ideas that you've come up with?
we ask him all the time to make this and make that. We always have something for Terence to make, and Terence. No, I think the biggest one for me, and I don't know how Terence feels about it, but the biggest one for me is bringing people, and it's not bringing people in the ecosphere, but it's more about, like, remember we were talking about earlier, the point of aquarium controllers has, for me, shifted focus, and I think the hobby in general shifted focus to that monitoring and protection and insurance. And I just think making that more available to more hobbyists will just save more tanks than not having one. In which case, we had that BRS Elmo a long time, like last year sometime. But hey, I think my biggest request from Neptune or from Terence and team is make us a monitoring system. All I have to do is enter my email, my phone number, I plug it in, and I drop it in the tank. And now I'm monitoring critical pieces of life support for my tank and my pets.
So something like a Senai, essentially.
Senai.
I will say, though, it's pretty funny, the Senai thing in general, though. I remember a day when Ryan was pretty gung-ho on the Senai. Randy?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know about now.
The way that the ammonia on that is kind of a backwards way of getting the ammonia, the free ammonias and things like that. So I think that was kind of the biggest one, because we had a lot of tests mapped in the future around active ammonia monitoring and tank cycling and things like that. And I think we were more disappointed that the Senai wasn't the tool that we thought it was going to be for those type of tests. So hopefully somebody comes out with something like that we can actually.
So I had a quick comment here, because we are giving away a Trident. You have to have an Apex. What do we call them? Apex 2016s? Is that what we call them?
The current Apex. So if you go out to the website and you look at what Apexes are being sold right now, pretty much anywhere, right?
Right.
That's the Apex you have to have. If it doesn't look like that, and they look completely different than the prior model, then you can't run it. So
that's correct.
But the good news is that you can get into an Apex for just under $500, including the full Energy Bar 832. So it's not as much money as many people think. And despite us, by the way, getting lots of parts costs and tariffs.
So, all right, we're got about an hour now. What's up, Randy? Sorry.
Can't I get an Apex 2016 Apex head unit and use my existing Energy Bars?
So you want to use the black Energy Bar 8s with a standard Apex EL or Apex this newer silver one? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The Apex as it stands now, the one that you sell and that's on our website, is backward compatible basically to nearly everything that the prior Apex could run. The exception to that would be the prior what used to be called, not Energy Bars, they were called, help me out here, Derek, I can't remember what they're called, but they were DC8s. Sorry, Direct Connect 8s.
Oh yeah,
is what they were called back in the day. So it doesn't run those, and it doesn't run the P1000 something or other module, which is also before me. But other than that, it runs everything. So we generally, if even way before myself, Kurt, the founder of the company, always likes to keep at least one revision back of compatibility. But going forward, there's always things that you want to do. And there was a big uproar. Obviously, it's all calmed down now when the Trident came out that, it's not going to work with this Apex. Well, yeah, that's the thing. When you come out with new stuff, sometimes it doesn't work with your old stuff.
Yeah, Apple does the same thing all the time. But anyway, I'm looking at the comments. Did you see any good questions to answer before we close up shop here?
You're going to close up already?
Well,
I thought you ran 2-hour live streams, man.
Well, we can go longer if you want. It's Sunday afternoon. I got nothing to do.
It doesn't matter to me at all. And if you want to answer questions, it's really up to Randy. If Randy,
it's up to Randy. Randy is the producer of the stream, guys. So Randy is in charge. Even though Terence spoke 90% of the time, Randy
I did
is
not.
Randy
I did
is
not.
the producer.
Randy knows it.
Mini energy. Someone wants a mini energy bar, Terence. An
There already exists
EB4.
an energy bar 4.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask Randy a question. So Randy, you are a kind of dad hat, kind of like hunter from the Midwest hat kind of guy with the roll. The guy from the South, they usually have like it'll be torn on here, a little clip for your, whatever, and you probably got the jeans with the little circle in the back seat. So where does that come from? Or is that from the military? You're like a sniper dude? What's the reason for the big curl on the brim?
No, I'm from Montana, out in the country, and my mom was married to a farmer rancher that had 250 head of Black Angus cattle and acres of wheat. That I've ran the combine a few times. I've done many brandings before in my time. I've wrestled cows and cattle, shot everything that the sun that I could go out and shoot out in the wilderness, hunted, fished my entire life. And then being in the military, there's a lot of like-minded individuals like that in there too. So, yes, I have, like guns, and I go out and shoot, and I fish, and I hunt, and things like that. But yes, I wear chin kicker cowboy boots to work, but no. No, now
tell everybody how you castrate the steer with the little pliers and the little rubber band thing, right?
That's great. Well, how many people are going to leave now?
You can put bands on them. Your viewers went down to like.
No, it's just so funny because I saw one of those tools on one of my colleagues' desk when I worked in Utah. Right, for so many years I worked in Utah, and I'm like, "What's this thing?" And it was a whole kit. It was a whole kit of the stuff, and he explained it to me. And I was like, "Oh my god, that's horrible."
Well, I mean, you got to do it somehow.
At the same time, line those organs up on the tailgate and season them and hit them with the torch and then eat them like popcorn chicken. But it's just part of it.
Oh, someone said some funny stuff on chat. I'm not going to mention it, but anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's some funny stuff. Oh boy, you'll have to. So Randy, I actually had a question. I actually had a question. This is interesting. So you like to fish, right? I hate fishing, and the reason I hate fishing is because my pets are my fish, and I've always wondered people that keep aquariums that fish. I don't know why I find it strange, but I don't know. I look at fish as pets, so it's hard for me to fish.
Yeah, but I don't look at trout and bass and walleye and crappie and all of these game species fish as pets. I don't think I'd have a largemouth bass tank, although it'd be really cool to feed them. But and plus, I'm more of a catch and release. I catch and release. I one time a year do I keep fish, and that's when we go to a chartered ice fishing trip way up north.
Okay.
And process it for me. Otherwise, I throw everything back in. But like trout fishing and stuff is one, I can go spend 5 to 8 hours walking up and down a stream, and I've gotten it down so like in my head it's very challenging. I'm very particular about the way things flow. And because I spend so much time and geeking out on that, I'm actually 15 more successful at catching fish.
Sorry.
It doesn't bother me to have fish go fresh.
Hey, sorry, Randy. Hey, Patrick, guess where I live? I live in the desert. I live in Arizona. So there's a reason I don't fish.
I love fishing, and I don't even ever make the connection, to be honest with you. I think there's lots of animals that I eat. There's lots of animals that I can see as pets. I can see somebody having a rabbit as a pet. And I like eating rabbit. I used to have a guinea pig, and I've been to Ecuador and eaten guinea pig, and it was pretty tasty. So I don't see the connection unless you're trying to eat my pet, and then maybe there's a connection. But yeah, that's just me. You want to see a cool piece of automation gear?
Yes, of course.
Look at this. Look at this.
It's the new Neptune lights. That's the
Look at
sky,
that.
huh? No.
Look at that. Isn't that cool? I got this off of Woot for $5. Okay, and you put one of these little Apple things on it and plug it into your Apex, and then these suckers you just put some double stick tape, put them wherever you want, you know, and basically get you a little alert when you have an alert on your tank.
So how do those do with growing coral?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Oh. Well, guys,
but anyway,
you saw it first on my channel, guys. He showed off the sky, guys. There it is. That was the big surprise.
It's not the sky. It's just a new product for sure. No, yeah, no, I don't think so. But they were kind of cool. They were $5 at Woot. I mean, I had to get them.
Let's see.
Just don't plug if you do get them and it does have a USB on it, don't plug that into Aquabus.
Yeah.
Or that'll be the fastest $5 flash bulb you ever had.
It is orange. That's true, Stephen. I thought it was the sky for a second.
Yeah. I'll take a sip out of my sippy cup.
I can't believe he's got a sippy cup.
So Randy,
I'm looking.
What's the next series that you're working on? Since people want to ask me about products, we'll ask you about what's the next series. Can you say what it's going to be?
We're looking at a few different things. So Ryan came out with his master series on the nitrates and phosphates. I think he's going to continue down that path with very large scientific topics and whatnot. So you'll see that really fancy set design type stuff come out of his. But we are actually changing the way that we do investigates, so they're not so full of boring, mind-numbing data. It's actually, so it's Ryan and I having a conversation about the data that we found and then the applications that we would use it and what it means, interpreting that as a conversation, like a one-on-one conversation, versus just me standing up there and reading a script about the data and leading you somewhere. Thomas is probably going to start expanding into instead of just product spotlight videos, but like how-tos and basic setups and some of those easier stuff too, to get you past like, okay, so here's the product, now what do you do with it? Jen's probably going to do some product review or product spotlight type stuff too initially until she gets some experience under her belt. But mostly it's Ryan and I are really shifting gears in that he and I will go on camera together more often because we can knock out videos in the matter of 2 hours just by him and I brainstorming for about 20 minutes and then shooting a video and a fully produced thing comes out of it. So that frees us up for all the other.
It's amazing how that can happen. I mean, Paul and I on our live stream have a similar kind of thing, where he laughs. I won't give him what the topics are even until the same day, right? And then also a mad rush. That entire day, it's a mad rush, but then everything is really fresh, and you can have a really good spontaneous discussion, and a lot of people get a ton of stuff out. There was a question here relating to your video series I saw that I think we should touch on. It says, did you work with Apex, meaning Neptune Systems, on the master video series, or was it just the stuff you thought of? So talking about how to master your skimmer and all of that.
There were multiple conversations that we had on the phone with Terence building that series, especially when it came down to topics that could be done about 4 or 5 different ways to do, like, here's the programming process of it. And we just were seeking out, the most direct, most common way to do it. And we'll teach you I'll just teach you what to write in there if it has to go in the advanced programming area. But yeah, we had Terence on the phone for like 4 or 5 of the episodes and he brought up a lot of good points that actually ended up making it like the point video was, I never thought of it about like skimmers from that path and like what I need to do to encompass that. So there was a lot of co-conspirating on that, and a lot of it, the rest of it really came from my experience too.
There was, but one of the things I would like to say, and I was taking some inference from the question, is this wasn't something where we said, oh, BRS, you need to go do this series of videos, or hey, here's a bunch of content that we want you guys to cover, or what have you. It was actually quite the opposite. BRS came to me and said, hey, we want to do 15, 20 different videos on how to make a better reef tank and do things with it that I see a lot of people are doing with their Apex and make the rest of their gear good. And then basically said, here's like the 15 or 20 kind of ideas. And I said, well, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. Maybe I don't know about that one. And then some weeks I wouldn't even hear from Randy because Randy just nailed it all on his own. And some weeks Randy would call me up and say, hey, what about doing this? Or how would you do that? And that is where we would basically interject and give the, the information that he might need or our particular direction. But I know sometimes there's this thought that there's this, conspiracy of, what Neptune and BRS are doing together. But
well, I work for Neptune. I work for you guys, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I work for you. Everyone thinks I work for you guys, and I'm some secret agent that is going after all these other companies. And all the stuff that I give away for Neptune, I must have got. You guys must have a vault in my backyard that you just handed me stuff, right? I got a huge vault of Neptune stuff that you just gave me one day. Yeah.
Yeah.
The day that vendors like Terence starts dictating what videos I make will be the day that I might have to find employment elsewhere.
There you go. There you go.
Randy, everyone on the stream, not everyone, most people have been calling you Ryan, by the way. I just thought you would like to know.
Because there's such a resemblance.
Yeah, there's so many people saying, hey, can you ask Ryan this? Can you ask Ryan that? I'm like, I can ask Ryan if he was here.
Maybe they want Randy to ask Ryan that question.
Yeah. Oh, I'm surprised Derek doesn't have his work shirt on. No work shirt today. People keep telling me Neptune. Yeah, Halsey wants to work for you. Suncrest Reef says.
Hey, it's everything's possible. We have a bunch of people, just like Randy went and drove to, Minnesota hoping for a job. We have a lot of people who are Neptune Systems employees who were control freaks like you can't believe, in not just in, let's say, support. We're talking about developers and just a lot of different people in a lot of areas of the company who were, and we love to hire those kind of people, because they really get it. They totally get the full experience.
John is nearby you guys. I'm pretty sure he's near. I think he lives in Portland or something. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Let's see. No, I'm retired. Okay. Do I have an Apex tattoo? No, I don't have any tattoos. Randy, do you have an Apex tattoo?
No, but the running joke in the office is Ryan will pay anybody $1,000 for a Mr. Chili teardrop. That's
only 1,000.
A little low.
Only 1,000.
But
only 1,000 to put a tattoo on your face.
And what does that mean? Does that mean that Mr. Chili's like you off somebody or something? If you have a Mr. Chili teardrop, I mean.
I deserve this Mr. Chili teardrop.
I could probably, you know what? If it was like the first neck tattoo that somebody got, not like they're already into the neck tattoos, and they put like a Neptune logo like right here, I bet I could find 10 grand for that. If it was like, I bet I could. Right on the Adam's apple, though. At least, I would say 2 square inches,
All right. That's terrible. That's just terrible. Well, guys, take a look at some in the chat, guys, because I'm looking at the chat now. So if you guys have some questions, now is the time to ask them.
Or we wrap it up and we give away the Trident because Randy's got to go.
Let's give away a Trident.
So, see, I told you Randy's running the show, guys. All right, so here's the deal. Randy doesn't know the rules, so I'm going to have to repeat them because I have rules. You have to have been and participating in the stream. This is going to be my moderator's job to tell me if someone just walked in here and picked up a Trident, because that's not going to happen in my stream. So
and
I'm
if you spin the wheel and it comes up with my name, you got to at least tell me, because don't just like pass by it. I got to know.
Did you put your name in here? Oh my goodness.
Of course.
Oh, God. Well, everyone will know. It'll say in the stream.
It shows up on the screen. Okay.
Yes, it does. So you have to be part of the Facebook group, guys. So if you guys aren't part of the Facebook group, it's Reef Automation. Also a plug. I do have some shirts now. I have some hats and more to come. Me and my wife are designing some. So we got some shirts coming, and we got a lot of great
merch.
Yeah,
merch is coming.
Yeah, we got a lot of great guests coming too. Even though Randy, by far the best guest we've ever had. No offense, Terence. We had 150 people in today. That's about triple what we normally get. So fantastic,
Awesome.
guys. Really fantastic. I'm so happy for this and everyone that came today. All right, here we go. Terence, if you win.
All the questions are coming in now. All of these questions are coming in now.
The winner today of the stream, and I know who this person is.
Your camera's going to black out in 18 seconds.
Darn it. The winner today is Mr. John Tolbert. John Tolbert, if you are here, you have won a Trident, sir. Hopefully you are here. You have to stay here.
He's a pretty active dude on the group.
Oh, yeah. And I think he has a Trident, but that's okay. You could always use two. John Tolbert, man. Yes, he is. He said hi.
You have to count it down. Oh, he did?
Yeah, he said hi. So, John, man, you won. Amazing. Amazing.
Awesome.
Brand new Trident, buddy.
Oh, good.
All right. Well, Terence, Randy, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. This was huge. I really appreciate it. So
we need to hunt down the 3 people that gave you a thumbs down, because Randy's going to take care of him, man. He's got the hat that takes care of it.
I get a thumbs down on every stream, and it's probably the owner of
now it's
Reef.
4. Now some I can't even say made it a 4.
Now someone made a 5.
Oh my gosh.
It's the Reef bot people. They love the Reef bot, so they just thumbs down me.
No, it's because they didn't win the Trident. Now they're all sour grapes. All right, let's sign off, man.
All right, guys. Peace. Thank you. See you next weekend.